Welcome back to Craftsman David. This here is a 1981 model Aaron's rear tine tiller. It's got a few issues with the motor and it hasn't run in about 5 years, but today we're going to give it new life with a new engine. So as the engine sits right now, it's got three main problems. Number one is spark. It doesn't have any spark. The engine's old enough that it has points, so I messed around with the magneto and the points, still can't get any spark. The second problem is this carburetor. It's been tried to be repaired with some JB Weld, but you can see it's pretty much ready to fall off. Then the last problem is this fuel tank. I've got a crack forming here and here on this plastic fuel tank. So if I were to try and save this engine, I'd have to get a new carburetor, a new fuel tank, and possibly a new magneto. That's just too much to worry about on a 35-year-old engine, so it's getting a new one. Before I get working on the chassis, I want to clean it up, so I'm spraying some degreaser, hosing it off. Working on a clean machine is much more fun. While the tiller unit's drying, I'm going to get the PTO parts off of this old engine. Removing pulleys that have been stuck on a motor for 30 years is always tricky. It takes lubricant and an impact driver. This device here is a gear puller. It should take it right off. Or break it. Oh, what was I thinking? I broke the pulley because I forgot to take the set screws out. Guess I was just in a hurry. I knew better. Still broke the pulley. I switched to the hammer just to try to get it moving. Finally, it's working. The pulley's moving in the right direction. Well, I've run out of stroke on my gear puller, but I'm going to get more by stacking nuts inside this hole. Yay! It's off! Well, I pretty much ruined the higher speed pulley, so I'm going to break off the rest of this flange all the way around because I don't want it to run this far out of balance. That'll hurt the new engine's bearings. So I'm going to use this old section of rail track as an anvil. They works great. The remainder gets ground flat here at the belt sander. There we go. Pretty happy with that. No big masses hanging out to cause it to run out of balance. We never really used it in the higher speed pulley anyway, so this pulley's going to work just fine. While the engine's off, this is the perfect time to check the oil in both gearboxes. Well, this front gearbox has a dipstick, so I'll check the oil level. Way too much oil in there, actually. But it looks a little bit watery to me. The color doesn't seem quite right, so I'm going to try to drain it out. I flipped the tiller upside down and whoa, a lot of water came out. Oh, look at that. Now that it's upside down, I see the drain plug. Live and learn. Well, that was quite a bit of water in there, if you can see by this jug. Now it's time for new oil using 80W90 gear oil. As you can imagine, that water in there has been wreaking havoc for years, but I can't really fix that and without tearing it all apart, and it still seems to work, so I'm going to put fresh oil in it and hope it continues to work. Now say hello to the new power plant of this tiller. This is a Harbor Freight Predator engine, 212 cc's, 6.5 horse. It's amazing what they sell these things for. Let me give you a quick tour of the engine. Off to the left here you have throttle, choke, and fuel shutoff valve. Then over here is the switch to turn on and off the spark from the magneto. Of course, PTO shaft, muffler, and then this is the air filter. One cool thing is that it's a washable air filter, so you don't have to keep running back to Harbor Freight every time you need to clean it. Down here, there's multiple fill and drain holes for the oil. So down here I got drain hole, fill hole, drain hole, fill hole. I've measured these off the table. They're both at the same height. One is a dipstick, and the other side is just a plug. So best I can figure, you can put the plug or the dipstick on whichever side you want. And for me, I'm going to leave it on this side. The manual is long-winded, but it fails to answer basic questions like about the oil plugs and then what this thing is. Best I can figure, this tool they give you is a spark plug wrench, because it fits that, but it doesn't explicitly say in the manual. Well, the engine ships without oil, and they don't give you any, so I got some 10W30. I've gone around the engine to make sure my drain plugs are nice and tight. Now I'll add the oil before I forget. Well guys, I had my calipers out, and I was about to figure out what kind of spacers I'd need to get this engine to work in this one's mounting, but then I realized something amazing. These motors are exactly the same mounting. The shaft's the same size, the mounting holes compared to the shaft are the same. Even the parts that mount to the back of the motor have the same hole pattern and the same thread size, so I can use the old bolts, the old brackets, everything. I'm going to be done with this in 20 minutes. They did supply a new keyway with the new engine, so I don't have to move that over. Now if I push the clutch in, I can check the alignment. Looks pretty good. Right there. Now that I'm happy with that alignment, I can tighten up the set screw. Alright, let's try it out. Oh, gotta turn on the ignition. Alright, let's try it out now. First pull!
You'll notice that my tines stop when I first hit the dirt. That's because the belt tension isn't high enough where the motor connects to the machine. After I tighten this up, it worked great later.
Well folks, I'm pretty happy with the results of this project. This old tiller, I haven't seen it work like this in years. This motor had plenty of power, started the first pull after the ignition was on. The rear tine tillers are always the most efficient at getting the job done. I should have this whole place tilled up in no time now. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it.